Welcome to the Jesuit Retreat Center of Los Altos. This is a new series that I'm just starting, God and Gardening. God and Gardening. And I hope you'll find it interesting. I first want to give you a warning that I know very little about gardening. Don't take anything that I do here as an example of what you should do. Just pay attention to the experts, of which I am not one. Also, if you see me doing something dangerous, don't copy me either. You know, this has no security tips or whatever. But it is about what I like to do around here as I try to bring more native plants into our place and take out some of the ones that aren't native. You know, although we do landscape with a lot of different types of plants, but that's basically what I'm aiming at. And at the same time, trying to draw some lessons for my spiritual life from the stuff that I do outside here at the Jesuit Retreat Center. Today, I have an exciting thing that I'm after. I'm going to use for the very first time a chainsaw, a very small chainsaw. They didn't want to get me a chainsaw just because, well, I kind of had a problem cutting through 3 electric cords with a trimmer, and they thought this might be dangerous for me, but they got the smallest one they could, and they're going to try me out with it, and I'm going to try it out for the first time. What I'm going to do is go after a French broom plant. French broom here in California is an invasive species that's very prolific, and our retreat center has a lot of it. I try to take out about 100 plants a day when I get a chance, but what I found is a huge plant that's flowering already. They can produce up to 8,000 seeds each plant each year, and the seeds can last from 10 to 15 years. So I am very excited to go after that plant today. So why don't you come with me and let's see if I can make this chainsaw work and not remove any parts of my body at the meantime. So let me give you an idea why I was so surprised to see this plant. This is the size of plant that I normally am used to seeing, but look at this huge thing. It goes all the way up there, and instead of a real narrow, tight little trunk, all the way down here you can see that real thick trunk, couple of them actually. And so that's why I knew I had to get this one out, or we're talking 8,000 seeds in just a month or two. Normally I would use a tool that looks like this. It's out of Canada, it's called an extractigator, but you can see that it has just a narrow little bed to pull up the weeds, and this thing is way too large, the roots are too deep. Therefore, I'm beginning, the first time you're watching, very first time you're all seeing my new toy little chainsaw. Let's see, I'll begin by cutting off some of the top part of it and seeing how it works. Make sure you get a good view of this. I think you will. So far, so good. Move down the trunk a little bit. And let me adjust it a little bit for your vision. Now we'll take out the worst part. Now you may be asking, isn't it better to dig it up by the roots? And that's certainly the case, but the problem of course I have is I can't get to the roots, and I'll have to monitor the situation to see if it begins to grow again. But for now, one fewer of these French broom plants. Let me give you an idea of how the extractigator works. We on this broom plant, which is again much larger than I normally get, we hook it toward the bottom, and then we push on it, and using the leverage, it should pull those roots right up, because the roots are what we really want to get rid of. And there we go. We have the roots, we have the plant. Mostly though, the plants aren't that big. They're this size or even smaller. And I can pull them out either by hand, or if they're a little tougher, I can take my extractigator, hook it onto it, and the plant comes up easily. Always trying to get the root there. And I can get, as I say, I try to get 100 a day of these, so that eventually our hillside will be clear of them. And then I'll have to wait till next year after it rains to see if some of those 8,000 seeds come back up, and I'll have to pull them then. But that's what I do with the Scotch broom, the French broom. We also have Scotch broom, which is another type of plant. But anyways, that's what I do to get, as best I can, our hillside, so that they'll be ready for native plants and not have this French broom plant take up all the soil and all the water that those plants, our natives, need. Let me tell a little story, an admonition that a Franciscan told me. He's a professor of theology, and he said that Jesus was never mistaken for a theologian. He was mistaken for a gardener. So now comes the time for this gardener not to be mistaken for Jesus, but to draw some spiritual fruit from all of this. Look at this, is a plant that is invasive. Isn't it like how our hearts, which are made for God, get invaded by other desires? They look pretty nice, but they suck out the water, the moisture that's needed in these hillsides for other plants. And so the very same thing happens in our soul, that beautiful and large desires sometimes, or even small ones, are there. And what our hearts are made for, as we know, they're made for God. They're made to love our Lord Jesus. And so in this Lent, maybe we can devote ourselves a little more fully to desiring and loving God with such great joy and happiness that we don't have room for these invasive species, these other desires that might look pretty good, but are so distant from the love and the goodness of our Lord Jesus, who made our hearts, and our hearts truly belong to him. Thank you for watching this little video, God and Gardening.